The camera tool in Disney Dreamlight Valley just got a major update, offering control over time of day, weather, visual effects, and more. In today's video, we'll be breaking down everything you need to know, covering every change within camera mode, and sharing how you can make the most of these changes to create the photos of your dreams. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that I'm a small full-time content creator, so every like on this video can make a tremendous difference for me. Consider subscribing for more Disney Dreamlight Valley and gaming content. If you would like to catch more of my content, you can find me live on Twitch Monday through Friday. Links to both my Twitch channel and Discord server can be found in the video description down below. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Hey there gamers, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the new camera features, and boy, I'm excited to get into this. After I played the update for a bit yesterday, I spent my entire night testing and playing around with this camera to really get a good feel for everything they've changed. And of course, the goal of today's video is to share everything I've learned with you and just go over all of these new features in general. So before we get into the whole new camera menu options here, I want to talk about camera modes. We still have the same three basic modes. There's the selfie mode, the portrait mode, and of course the free mode, which allows for zooming in, zooming out, panning, things like that. Now, for the most part, these modes have remained the same. With the exception of free mode, the controls for free mode have changed a bit. The reason for this change is because they have added the pause animation feature. If you're on mouse and keyboard, you can just use your mouse to click this little pause icon, but if you're on controller, you have to use the right trigger. And as you can see, when I press the right trigger, my avatar freezes in place. An important side note here is that it also freezes your companion. So if you strike a perfect pose with your companion, or if you're trying to capture a very specific animation with your companion, this can come in quite handy. Again, that's going to be right trigger on controller in order to freeze your companion and your avatar. Now, there are a few things with the freezing option that don't work quite as how I hope they would. For one, if you watch the dragon breathe fire, his fire animation continues to play. So if I pause it, you're going to see, even though I paused him as the fire was coming out, the fire itself didn't freeze, it finished extinguishing. So certain things will not pause. That includes hair and different sparkles, animations, fire animations, things like that. I think a really good visible example of this is if you use the whimsical companion skins. Notice if I pause it, my companion freezes in place, my avatar freezes in place, but the animation surrounding my companion does not freeze and continues to remain animated. Now, the reason I brought up hair, and I know I look kind of silly right now, bear with me, but there is a really fun visual effect people were getting before this update where you equip the dragon and then you turn off the dragon pose, and as your character repositions, their hair moves to the side if it's a big hairdo like this one, and it looks like it's blowing in the wind. This is a dream snap from a good friend of mine named Mr. Left Shark, and it captures and demonstrates what I'm talking about perfectly. So of course, when I was playing with the new pausing animation, I was curious, could I pause my avatar and capture my hair blowing so I don't have to worry about timing it just right? And unfortunately, no. So when I turn off the dragon pose, even if I pause it, you see my hair still falls back down, but you can still capture the hair blowing animation, you just can't pause it. So if I wanted to capture the animation, I would have to snap my photo right then, but the pause feature is not going to work for it. This is what I'm talking about, this hair blowing in the wind kind of style. A lot of people like to do this in their dream snaps. It's a really fun wow factor. I just wanted to point out that it doesn't necessarily work with the pausing option. Now, the reason we're talking about the pausing animation at the beginning of this video is simply because this is the only new feature in the camera that has forced a change onto one of the camera modes, and that would be the free mode. You see, before this update, holding the right trigger and using the right analog stick would allow you to zoom in and out, while holding the left trigger and using the left analog stick would allow you to pan around. Now that the right trigger activates the pause option, that control system has been changed. If you want to get familiar with the changes, just look at the left side of your screen when you're in the free mode, and it breaks it down for you depending on what controller you're on. Right now I have an Xbox controller here. So as you can see, holding left trigger and using the left stick now moves the camera. Holding the left trigger and using the right stick now zooms it in and out. So we're not using the right trigger for that anymore. And of course, holding no trigger allows you to pan your camera like this. And as much as I love the pause feature, it's going to take me a while to get used to this. I've been using the camera for so long, and this is a pretty big control shift, and I'm definitely a muscle memory kind of guy, so it's going to take me a while to get used to. But if you're feeling like you're having a hard time controlling the camera in free mode, I just want you to be aware of these control changes. Just make sure you familiarize yourself with the options here on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Before we move on, I do want to touch on just a little bit more with the pause option. Like I stated, certain visual effects will not be paused if they are attached to your avatar or your companion. And I also find it important to mention that villager animations will not be paused either. The pause feature only impacts your avatar and your companion. In fact, if I'm here in photo mode and I attach pets to a companion home, you'll notice that when I pause my avatar, the pets attached to the companion home continue to animate, to move around. So the only things, like I said, the only things affected by the pause will be your avatar and the companion you have equipped. Still a very useful feature, but I want you to be aware of its limitations. For the remainder of the video, we're going to be going through each one of these tabs, and the fifth one is by far my favorite. I've learned a lot about the visual effects activation, and we're going to get into that by the end of the video. But for now, let's start with our Pose tab. So poses have seen some interesting changes, and when you select the Pose tab, it's broken down into 3 separate tabs. Each one of these is just, of course, different poses. The first is our generic poses like the hand on hip, the resting pose, the rage pose, the proud, the excited, but there are 2 new ones. So we have the thinking pose, and I really love this one. I think this would be great for anything philosophical or maybe like a library dream snap or things like that. And then we also have the waving pose. I think this could be really good for parade snaps or event snaps, things like that. I mean, I think this could work in a great number of things, but yeah, I do like this. And the ability to pause these is also really nice, because if there is a specific point within these animations that you're trying to capture, you're not going to have to wait for that animation to recycle every time. That's going to kind of be a theme with a lot of these changes. It seems like a lot of these changes are designed to streamline dream snaps and save us a bunch of time. Now, these 2 new poses are the only new pose we've received this update, with one exception, and we'll get into that by the time we get to the 3rd sub tab here. For now, let's go to the 2nd. So the 2nd tab is where they have placed all of our tool animations. And these are, of course, just basic tools. You have your watering can pose, there's the fishing rod, the shovel, the pickaxe, the hourglass, you know, nothing new here. They've just been moved. And of course, moving on to our 3rd tab, this is going to be pretty much anything else. If it's not a standard pose or a tool pose, it's going to be found in this tab. So that's going to include your companion pose, your accessory pose, and just to show the pause thing again, as you can see, my accessory is animated so the bubbles will not freeze, but my avatar will. And lastly, the gliding pose. Now this will change depending on what kind of glider you have on. If you have on wings, you're going to do a floating animation. It's pretty cool. Now, as I said a minute ago, there is a new pose in addition to the other 2 new poses we have, and that would be our newest companion pose here with R2-D2. Of course, anytime we get a brand new and unique companion, they almost always come with their own unique pose. That includes companions like Hey Hey, Figaro, R2-D2, and so on. I don't know about you, but I really love R2's pose. It is super cute. I love that he projects the little heart, and I also like the movements that the avatar makes when utilizing this pose. I love the little heart hand here that we can do. I think there's a lot of different ways we could utilize this. Something we're going to talk about a bit later is that within the 5th tab, you can hide companions. So if you wanted to use this little heart pose without R2-D2, you will be able to. And that goes for all the other companion poses as well. Again, we'll talk about this a bit more later. With that, we've covered everything in this pose tab. A quick recap here. You have your standard poses, tool poses, and then anything else. Let's move on to the expressions tab. Now, at first glance, it might not look like this tab has changed much, but there are actually some major changes to expressions. One thing that has plagued the expressions feature in the Dreamlight Valley camera system ever since early access is when using different expressions, the avatar's eyes would always go straight to the ground. They would just look down whenever I would activate an expression. Now, there were a couple of expressions, like the winking expression, where that wouldn't happen, but for all of the other ones, my avatar would just look at the ground the moment I put an expression on, and it made me not want to use the expressions. Now, of course, this didn't happen in selfie mode, but it did happen in portrait mode and free mode. But as you can see here, that is no longer the case. I can cycle through all of these expressions and my avatar's eyes remain pointed forward in the direction they're looking. They're not darting to the ground, and this just makes the expressions way more clean, natural, and usable. So while we did not receive any new expressions, I'm very happy that they have finally fixed the issue with expressions. The third tab is one of my favorites. This tab offers some incredible utility, allowing us to adjust and customize time of day, contrast, saturation, brightness, and vignette. So we're going to move through each of these sliders and I'm going to show you exactly how they operate. First off, time of day is pretty clear, and this is one of my favorites. One thing I've always been a big fan of is using the sunset time of day to capture my photos. I just love the warm lighting and it just brings a lot of life to the photo, but sometimes it's not ideal, and exiting your photo mode and having to go back into the menu and choose a bunch of different times a day to test what looks best for you is a bit of a headache. That is no longer a problem. You can move through the entire time of day cycle right here with this slider. And I love this because now when you build your photos or your dream snaps, you can just slowly scroll through here and find what works best for you. What do you think looks the best? Do you like the sunset more? Do you like the sunrise? Do you like the midday? Would you rather have a night photo? So the utility offered by this is incredible, and I'm expecting to see a lot more flexibility within Dreamsnaps when it comes to the time of day people choose when creating their submissions. Our next slider is for contrast. So in photography, contrast refers to the differences in brightness or color between different parts of an image. And this can make different things more distinguishable, and that's where contrast comes into play. Of course, going with the max contrast can be a bit hard on the eyes, but depending on what you're trying to create, it might work out for you. Just having the contrast slider, though, is really nice. Unfortunately, in portrait mode, there is this background blur. Now, there is a way to turn off the background blur, and keep in mind, the background blur does not happen if you're on Nintendo Switch, but it does happen on other platforms. That's because Switch does not play on the medium graphic presets. But even with the blur, the contrast still helps to sharpen the back of the image a fairly good amount. And keep in mind, there is another way we can remove the background blur. I'm going to show you that a bit later in the video. Our next slider is for saturation. So saturation refers to the intensity or purity of colors in an image. So of course, if you go lower on the saturation, we're going to lose all of that purity, all of those colors, and it's just going to go black and white. And on the other end of the spectrum, if we go very high on the saturation, the image is going to have very bright and vivid colors. Now, our next tab is pretty self-explanatory. This one is brightness, and this is just going to adjust the levels of lighting within your photo. This can be really handy if you're in like a shaded spot and you're trying to take a nice sunset photo and you have the sun behind you, but everything in your foreground or midground is a bit dark. You can adjust the brightness. Just be aware that if you go too high, it's gonna be kind of painful, even if it is a nighttime shot. For example, here I've set myself at night. If I turn the brightness down, it gets very, very, very hard to see. I mean, the colors look really cool. I love the jacket here and the headphones, but anyway. Now, if we turn the brightness all the way up, this looks almost like midday, but with stars in the sky. Again, it is a little whitewashed. It is a little harsh. So in most cases, I don't recommend going max brightness, even if your photo is really dark, but the standard is 50%. And if your photo feels a bit dark, going up like 10 or 20% can make a huge difference. The last slider we're going to touch on is vignette. Vignette is a visual effect where the edges of an image gradually fade into darkness or lower brightness compared to the center. Now, you may be wondering, what's the purpose of vignette? Why is it used in photography? Well, in a nutshell, it's a great way to draw the viewer's eye to the center of your photo, while at the same time keeping some details on the outer edges. As you can see here, we can still see my flowers, we can still see the fountain, we can still see the house, But now the subject of the photo is more centered here with the Naboo house in the back and my avatar in the center. Now, of course, all of these things by themselves are incredible, but when paired together, it is a game changer. This gives us a ridiculous amount of flexibility with the camera functionality. Now, unfortunately, there are no recommended settings I can give you that are going to be perfect for every photo. Now that we've defined exactly what each of these sliders are, what they're designed to do, and how they operate, I encourage you to experiment with them whenever you're creating your photos. Just be careful when it comes to like maxing them out, because you can get some pretty crazy effects, and I'm not sure how well things like this would do in a Dreamsnaps challenge. I know for me, I'm really liking the vignette around 50%, and slightly turning up the contrast does wonders for the coloration of the picture, especially if you slightly boost the saturation as well. You don't need to go very high with it. It's pretty prominent. Of course, for brightness, I think that's going to depend more on what time of day you're at. If you're in the middle of the afternoon like this, brightness can be a bit harsh to adjust, and going back can kind of take away some of your fun colors. So as far as the brightness slider, that's something I'll probably only use in dark environments because the game is almost never too bright in my opinion. Again, best thing to do with all of these sliders is experiment for yourself and get yourself comfortable. Another thing I want to point out is that whenever you move the sliders, we're going to adjust all of these. Now look on the right hand side, and each one has a cross out option. This is just letting you know that you're no longer on default settings. Default would be having all of these completely off. So the default here is your standard time of day, whatever time of day you have the game set to. Contrast 0%. Saturation 0, brightness 50%, and vignette 0%. And you would think with all of these fun customizable sliders that this is where the photo lighting customization comes to an end, but it's not. We're gonna move on to our next tab. This tab has 3 very fun options. The first one is weather control. This one's pretty straightforward, but we're not gonna go into the first one right away. Since we were just talking about the sliders, I wanna go into filters, because pairing some of these filters with your sliders is really fun. Notably, one thing I wish they got rid of was the background blur, and this filter here does get rid of it. Notice when I use the 4th filter, the blur on the Naboo building, the blur on the trees, it's all gone and everything is very crisp. But also notice how this completely alters the lighting and the coloration of your photo. Now it's too bright, it's too harsh. But let's say I wanted to get rid of the blur using this filter. Well, if it's too bright and too harsh, I can use the sliders to fix that. We can turn the brightness down, and while this filter did nullify some of our colors, we can increase the saturation to get our colors back. And we can also adjust the contrast to get the image a little bit more defined, where some of these colors may be bleeding together. And if we wanted to, we could dial up the vignette to make it a bit more focused here in the center. Not all the way, maybe 50%, just to kind of darken the edges of the frame here. I'm just trying to give you an idea. I'm not saying this is the ideal settings. I'm not saying you should always use this filter with these settings. I'm just trying to show you that thanks to these new slider options, the filters are now more useful than ever. It's definitely a step in the right direction. Now, with some of our other filters, you know, they're not going to play as well with these settings we have on. So of course, the settings we have on right now from tab number 3 look really good with filter number 4. But if we go to filter number 3, it's looking pretty weird, and same with some of the other ones. Like I look like a lobster here. So needless to say, when you start using some of the sliders on some of these filters, you're going to need to experiment, and each filter is going to have different settings that work well for it. If you'd like, maybe in the future, I can make a video going over what kind of image settings work best for certain filters. Though I hate saying what works best, because at the end of the day, art is in the eye of the beholder. One person's best is another person's worst. So I don't like taking that route, but if enough people want me to kind of give some ideas as to more settings, just let me know in the comments. Now I'm going to turn off all of these different settings, and we're going to go back to our filters here, because I just want to touch on this before we move on. We have the same filters we've always had. There's the black and white, there's the sepia, there's the very bright one here. We have the crisp one that removes the blur in the back. There's the very colorful one. This one boosts saturation, puts a bit more of a blur on light. This one is great for like fall scenes, as it turns all of these vibrant different greens, more into a brownish color. We have this old-timey, very staticky black and white, and we have this very light, very bright pinkish hue filter as well. All in all, these are the same 8 filters we've always had, but as we mentioned, with the addition of these new sliders, they are more flexible than ever. Now we can talk about weather control. Now this is something I am so happy to see. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm making my dream snap and I've had a busy week, I've been editing all week and I've been doing my streams and I have no free time and I'm like, God, I just gotta get this dream snap done. And it's Tuesday, 10 p.m. I wanna go to bed, and then it starts thunderstorming right after I do my setup. Or maybe you're trying to take your perfect photo and then the rain comes right when everything is just right. But that's no longer a problem. That is in the past. We do not have to deal with that anymore. It's over. So the weather controls are pretty straightforward, but there is one new feature that is entirely unique to the game within the camera mode. We'll start with sun. As you can see right now, that's the weather I currently have. So when I select sun, nothing happens. I can toggle between nothing and sunlight and it just stays the same. The next one is rain. The rain clouds are gonna grow and you're gonna hear rain in the game. But as of right now, I do believe this is bugged because I don't see the rain. I don't know if you can see it on your platform. I'm on PC. If you're on Switch or PlayStation and you can see the rain, let me know. I can hear the rain, but I can't see the rain. And that also applies for thunderstorms. The next one is fog. Now, I really like the fog one. I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with this, especially with filters and with the sliders. And I don't know, I feel like dream snaps made around Halloween, or if you're doing like a spooky forest or a morning hike even, this fog atmosphere could be really good. I think in a lot of cases it won't be that great to use because it does really hurt the coloration and the beauty of your photo. However, if it plays into the theme or into your scene somehow, it's amazing. And I remember when I was recording my Halloween Valley tour, I had a couple of foggy hours and I was so excited to record my Halloween Valley with that fog in it. It looks so good. So all I can think about with the fog is how great it's gonna be to have in Halloween. The next one is just partly cloudy. This one's pretty straightforward. It's not rainy, it's not thunderstorming. You just got a lot more clouds in the sky. As you can see back here, you can see the clouds popping in. If I go back to sunlight, they just kind of revert. Our second to last one is thunderstorms. Now, just like the rain filter, again, for some reason, I cannot see the rain. I can see the lightning, I can hear the thunder, and I can hear the rain, but again, I don't see the rain. This will probably get patched. And now for our last one, and this I think has to be the most exciting. I love that they have a sunshine one and they also gave us a moon one, but check this out. When you hit the moon tab, you get this big, bold, bright moon in the background. The game goes to night, you can see the stars, and then you have this ambiance of light kind of around you where the moonlight is casting down, where everything in your foreground and midground is very well lit, but everything in the back is covered in shadow. I fell in love with this setting. I cannot wait to see what people do with this for dream snaps, and it has some pretty cool effects. Fireworks look completely different under this setting, and I know we haven't gone into the activation feature yet, but I'm just gonna go ahead and show you how cool this looks. Like that's just really fun. They're more bluish and they kind of add to the stars in the sky. So things are different when you have this moon setting on. I feel like that's something worth keeping in mind, and this is why experimentation is so good. If you haven't sat down and thoroughly experimented with these new camera features, I definitely recommend doing so because you can find some really, really interesting things. With that, we've pretty much covered everything within this weather tab. So we've covered the weather tab, we've covered the filters. We're gonna move on to borders next, but this is gonna be very brief. So the fourth tab has 3 sub-tabs. You have weather, filters, borders. And we have no new borders. These are all the same ones we've always had. There are a total of 12 borders in the game, and all of them can be found under this tab. Just as a quick refresh, this is them. You know, we have the wide angle one, we have this white box one, we have the little celestial one, and then we have several with the Dreamlight Valley logo. There's a winter one and another wintry one. Personally, one of my favorites is the widescreen. I just really like the way it looks, especially if you're trying to hide something in your foreground. Maybe you have that bug where grass is clipping through your path and it looks kind of funky and you want to hide it. This can be a great way to do that. That said, I do hope we get some more borders in the future. The game is kind of limited on them because, I mean, 4 of them are just the Dreamlight Valley logo. And personally, I would love to have some more unique filters, kind of like this one. I love this. This one's super unique, but It is a bit loud. I would love a version of this that's dialed back just a little bit. With that, we have reached the final portion of this new menu. And this is one of the most exciting things within the camera changes. I would say the sliders are probably the best thing, but this is a close second. And for some, it might be the best. Now, one thing that's going to take a while to talk about is visual effects, because I've done a lot of research with that, discovering exactly what it impacts. And believe me when I say the fact that we have this activation button is going to bring a whole new meta to the game. We'll talk about it. But for now, let's talk about the basic things. So in the past, the right trigger was the toggle for touch of magic options as well. It's how you can turn off touch of magic. Now you can turn touch of magic off right here. There was also a toggle for snippets that's been removed. Now we hit it right here in this little sub menu. These toggles used to be right above the menu, right here below my camera frame. But yeah, now they're going to be found in this tab. Speech bubbles can now be turned off. Now this one is huge. I can't tell you how many times I've gathered a bunch of villagers for a dream snap and I've almost got the perfect shot, and then I just get a speech bubble that pops up. It has one letter and it just won't go away. I have to exit the photo mode, and then I have to reset my photo, all because a villager wanted to talk. Well, that's no longer a problem, as we can just turn the speech bubbles off when we are in camera mode. Another interesting addition is we can actually make the avatar invisible, which I'm very interested to see what people do with this. Personally, I've always seen the avatar as a big strength in Dream Snaps. Like when people do these decor submissions and they have these amazing environments they've created, I prefer to see the avatar in the environment because I think they add to it. They make it alive. They make it feel like a real place. But being able to completely hide the avatar in a decor build is also pretty interesting because we can see more of the environment. I also think making the avatar invisible is going to be really good for social media posts. If you're trying to take a picture of a build you've done, maybe for Instagram or Twitter, X, or wherever you might be sharing your content, being able to hide your avatar when you take pictures of your builds is an incredible feature. I just hope we don't start seeing a lot of decor submissions without an avatar, because I love seeing the avatar. I love seeing what people chose to wear. I love seeing their expressions. So I hope we don't just get flooded with pictures like this. But if we do, I'm still going to appreciate them and enjoy them. That's just my personal preference. Now, our next three tabs affect our local acquaintances, if you will. You can hide who you're hanging out with. You can hide all villagers, and you can hide your critter. So as you can see, R2 is here with me, and if I toggle this on and off, he just appears and disappears. Now, I don't have any villagers around, but I do really want to show you guys these tabs in action. So let's grab a couple of villagers and bring them into the frame. This is kind of normal for what to expect when you're trying to take a dream snap with a lot of villagers. They can be all over the place. So I'm hanging out with Oswald, and everyone else is just kind of walking around here. Let me go to noon so it's a little easier to see. And now moving over to our tab, if I hide all villagers, you'll notice everyone except for the villager I'm hanging out with disappears. So Oswald stays by my side here, and everybody else goes away. Alternatively, I could just hide Oswald and keep everyone else, or I could hide both. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. So here's something really fun. You can hide your critters. And if you go into the pose mode, we can use R2-D2. We can do his little heart pose here, and I can pause it as he's doing the heart pose. And if I want to capture my avatar doing this heart pose and not feature R2-D2, I can now hide my critter. And just like that, I have a brand new pose that I'm using. There's no critter, there's no R2, and we have the heart hand pose. Keep in mind, you can do this with any critter. Here's the squirrel pose with the squirrel hidden. We got the fox pose with the fox hidden, the turtle pose, and one of my personal favorites, magic carpet. Like, what is happening here? I'm just floating. It's just so funny. But there's a lot of creative ways you can use this. I know I'm laughing about it, but just think about it. If you want to do a kneeling pose and you don't think hey fits in your photo, now you can. If you want to sit on the ground but not have a fox there, now you can. And as new companions come to the game and new poses come to the game, our supply of unique poses will continue to grow. With that, we have but one more, and very exciting feature to discuss: activating visual effects. Now, I've gone through my entire inventory. I've looked at numerous things to find out exactly what can be activated and exactly what can't. Now, most people, of course, they automatically assume things like the confetti cannon, the fireworks, and that is correct. But there are a lot of interesting options that not everybody might have considered, and there are some things that I feel like could have worked with this that don't. So in a nutshell, the way this new feature works is that several different items with the interact option will be activated when utilizing this new feature. Things like the confetti cannon, the bubble machine, the pyro box, and of course fireworks. But I'm gonna say fireworks for last because there's some really fun stuff with fireworks. Now, when I say it has to be in range, it just has to be within the frame or right on the border of the frame. For example, this confetti cannon right here, if I take a few paces forward and I get right here and I choose activate, the fireworks behind me start going off, but if I move forward, you're gonna find that the confetti cannon is not. But don't worry, as long as it's kind of in your foreground here, like right here, we're really close, and just like that, we have the activation. So it's actually not in the camera frame, but it still activates if it's right on the border. But keep in mind, it does have to be pretty close for the activation to work, at least for what's behind the camera. Anything the camera is pointed towards is a guarantee. I've gone like all the way across the floating island and managed to access or activate the fireworks from the other side. Well, I wouldn't say all the way, but it is pretty far. So I just hit activate, and if we go all the way down here, you're gonna see I do have a pyro box at the back of the floating island here that did not activate. From my calculations, the distance is about 90 grid squares. So anything the camera is pointed towards that is less than 90 grid squares away is going to activate. So yeah, if I'm standing on this edge of the floating island and I have fireworks on the back edge of the floating island on that other side, they are not going to trigger. They're going to need to be pulled up just a little bit. As far as what items to utilize with this, the pyro box is going to be a lot of fun. It has a short duration and it was a pain to set off. The confetti cannon, that's going to be clutch. The bubble machine, I mean, it was already all right because it stays on, so you don't really need to activate it with this, but it is still a nice option. But before we get into the fireworks, let's talk about what doesn't work with this activation feature. So it doesn't appear to be just anything with the interact option, because of course lights have the interact option, and so does this wheelbarrow that brings out the leaves. But I have tested this and multiple other interactable items, and they actually don't work with this activate feature. So if I go down here and I hit activate, you'll notice the light does not activate, the wheelbarrow does not activate, and throughout all of my testing, it appears the visual effects only applies to a handful of things. The 3 different fireworks being the fireworks display, the stage fireworks, and the red dragon firework. In addition to the fireworks, it works with the pyro box, the display bubble machine, and the party confetti machine. With that, it's time to talk about fireworks, and I think there is a new meta in the game. Maybe not over all the others, but this is really exciting. So by far, the most commonly used fireworks in the game seem to have always been the display fireworks. If you weren't aware, there's a bug on the floating islands where if you activate the fireworks and then go into a house and come back out, they stay activated. That way you can have them running the whole time. Not to mention, these were the first fireworks that came to the game. They are a premium shop item, but they were really cheap. They're only $1,200. A bunch of people got them, but a lot of people did miss out on them, and they don't have these, sadly. The next would be the stage fireworks. Now, these were part of the night show STARPATH, and they're a bit different from the display fireworks. They don't go up as high, but they do offer a wide range of colors and a really nice arch. So they're a bit different. As you can see, these display fireworks, they're going to shoot off a fair bit higher, whereas the stage fireworks are going to be in this arch, probably about 15 feet off the ground. Now, our last firework option, the reason this firework is so nice is because it's the only one that's not a premium item. The stage fireworks were only obtainable through the night show STARPATH. The display fireworks came to the premium shop a couple of times, but if you missed them, you missed them. That's not the case for the red dragon firework, as it's an item you can receive from befriending Mushu, and it's only his level 2 friendship reward, so it's very easy to get. The big problem with the red dragon firework is that it almost never stays activated long enough to really utilize. Plus, it has a bit of a trajectory, you know, it goes off in the distance, then explodes. But compared to the other fireworks, it has some of the most fun colors and animation. I just really love it. There's like green, there's a bit of red, yellow, pink. It just feels a lot more vibrant and colorful than some of the others. But due to its short animation time, it's never had good Dreamsnaps utility. I only used it in one Dreamsnap just to capture it shooting off, and that was it. But thanks to this new activation feature, those of you who missed out on these two fireworks, you finally have something you can use for your Dreamsnaps, and that's huge. Something that's totally free. Allow me to demonstrate how amazing these red dragon fireworks can be. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of scatter some out here, and I'm going to do the same here on this left-hand side, and I'll even have some here close to the foreground that are going to go back. And with that, we hit activate, and first of all, like even without the firework explosion, that just looks so cool. It looks like a war zone actually, but I want to show you the actual fireworks going off because they're way pretty. And I'm also going to move the other fireworks displays out so you can just see the red dragon fireworks in action here. All right, I think I got them all. I might have missed some, I'm not sure, but yeah, let's activate. There they go, and we give them a second to do their thing. Boom, look at that. Just look at that, absolutely gorgeous. The colors feel so different, they feel so unique, so vibrant. I love the red dragon firework because it has a lot more coloration than some of the other fireworks. And in the past, there was no way to do what we just did. You would have to run to each firework, activating them one at a time, and it was just a huge headache. Completely destroyed their utility. Not to mention the firework bug where you activate a firework and then go inside and come back out. That never worked with the red dragon firework. It would always come out looking like this and it would not shoot off the fireworks. So even using the glitch where you can make the fireworks run non-stop, the red dragon firework just never had great utility until now. So yeah, I'm just really excited about this. I'm really excited about how much this changes and how fun this new feature is going to be. It's also important to note that now you don't have to worry about synchronizing your confetti cannons. A lot of people like having a confetti cannon on the left and having one on the right, and getting them to trigger at the exact same time requires you to activate the one on the left and then wait for about 3 or 4 seconds, then activate the one on the right and hope they synchronize so you can get the same effect on both sides. But now it's pretty much just a guarantee. I mean, you set them where you want them, you hit activate, and boom, they both go off simultaneously. I mean, look at that. That's just so fun. I love this new feature. I'm gonna go ahead and save this photo. That's a fun one. Also, check this out at night with the nighttime with the moon works on. I mean, this is so cool looking, dude. But yeah, there you have it, you guys. I hope this gives you a good feel for the new camera. At this point, we've covered every new utility, every new slider, and everything you can do with this camera. But I encourage you to take all this information and experiment for yourself, because that's how you're going to get the most comfort. I think the big takeaways out of everything we've discussed would be equipping companions and then hiding your companion. That's something very exciting because it gives us access to numerous poses without a companion. And alternatively, you can hide yourself and keep your companion out, and by effect, take a photo just of your companion. That can work really good for critter themed dream snaps. This is why experimentation is so good with this new camera model, because there are just countless possibilities. I think it would be impossible for me to make a video covering every possibility with this new camera. So if you have any fun and unique ideas that we did not discuss in this video, or fun combinations of some of these effects, or if you discovered something I didn't, be sure to let me know in the comments below, and maybe we can all learn even more about this exciting new feature. Since you stuck around to the end of the video, I do have one more teensy little bonus tip for you. I discovered something kind of fun. When using the time of day slider, if we go over here to nighttime and then we go back to sunset, you'll notice there's a bug where there's a brief moment where the lighting is extra warm. It's almost orange. Then it goes away. See, here it is. Boom, now it went away. But if you snap your photo right, then you can capture that lighting if you'd like. And I can show you here. We just have to toggle between night and day a few times. And and there you go. We snapped this very interesting lighting. I'm not sure if you would ever want to use this. It's kind of like golden hour pumped up to the max. And if I save this photo, now this is how golden hour is supposed to look. This is the normal, but as you saw, that lighting was a bit different. Very, very warm, super bright. It's just a visual bug, but you can capture it if you want. Now that we're done talking about the Dreamlight Valley camera, I do have a huge video project I want to plug to you guys before I head off. For the past year and a half, I've been working on my biggest video ever. For a really long time, I've been a huge fan of 100-day survival videos like I survived 100 days in Minecraft or I survived 100 days in Grounded. And I've always wanted to make one. It's been a dream of mine. So now I can officially say, after nearly 400 to 500 hours of time spent on a single project over the course of a year and a half, my 100-day Power World movie will be dropping on YouTube within the next couple of weeks. And I am so excited to share this with you guys. It's a whole movie. I wrote a whole script. I wrote out the whole story. Basically, I played 100 days of the game on hard mode, survived, did a bunch of challenges, wrote a script, and turned it into a full feature-length movie. It's about 2 hours long. I've been editing it myself, all just one-man project for the past year and a half or so, and it's finally almost done. I cannot wait to share it with you guys, so I hope you'll check it out. Even if you've never played Power World, I think you'll really enjoy it if you like my kind of content. With that, I'm gonna dive back into the update and try to learn some more. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you found today's video helpful, informative, or simply entertaining, please do me a very big favor and press that like button. Also, consider subscribing for more Disney Dreamlight Valley and gaming content. If you would like to catch more of my content, you can find me live on Twitch Monday through Friday. Links to both my Twitch channel and Discord server can be found in the video description down below. As always, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the Wonderland and Whimsy update.